Carl and Liam here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it's We're Afraid of the Dark. Our Are You Afraid of the Dark TV series talk through and review. This is episode 12, the penultimate episode of season 2, The Tale of the Hatching, written by Chloe Brown and directed by DJ McHale. It's been a while since we've had both those names in this show, but here they are, delivering an episode for us that has got A's written all over it. Our cast. We've got Ilya Walushian as Augie Wilson, Heather Brown as Giles Wilson, Liz McRae as Mrs. Wilson, Pierre Lenore as Mr. Wilson, Philip Spensley as Mr. Taylor, Maria Hedler as Mrs. Taylor, and Genevieve Smith as Marie. There are a lot more cast members, folks. This is a big cast. We have a lot of extras, we have a lot of background characters, we have a lot of sort of moving parts on this. It's one of the more complex episodes they've done, but they're the only ones worth mentioning. And yeah, only a couple of facts here, but one of them is very, very important. This is David's last story. David is exiting the show.
Oh, not David. Everyone loves David, don't they?
The other fact, Heather Brown, who plays Jazz, was also in the Goosebumps episode One Day Horrorland, playing, of course, Lizzie. Should have remembered her.
Banger.
Banger indeed. Okay, let's dive into the story. Midnight Society, as David is down in the dumps, alone at the campfire, but having set everything up which pleases Gary as the others arrive, even if there's some good-natured teasing. The girls seem to notice something is wrong, though, and Kristen reveals that David's family has just moved across town and he has to go to a new school. And I was really understandable. That is no easy thing at his age. And he points to the difficulties. You don't know anybody. You get lost. The kids treat you like you're invisible because they already have their own friends, etc. Now, I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding America here, but moving across town, like, could you not still go to the same school, but you just got to commute a little further, travel a little further, get on your bike and ride your way there?
No, like in America, like they drive like massive distances and they don't see it as like as big of a deal. But I imagine, obviously, with a kid his age, they may say like across town, but I imagine it's quite a big distance, you know.
It's just that terminology, across town. Like, I wish it said like to a different city.
Yeah, like if you said that to someone in this country across town, that would not mean a great distance, I imagine. Yeah.
Because it also doesn't make sense. Well, are you still able to come to the Midnight Society, though? Like, if you moved somewhere else. And I thought, oh, is this them setting up his ex from the show? Now, I've looked ahead. It doesn't, not really. I mean, you could argue it maybe does, and that, you know, it does, but it's not mentioned in that regard. I thought this might be, I think, like, weirdly, I think they missed a trick here to write this as his exit. And he's actually down in the dumps because not only have I had to move schools, but this will be the last time I can attend the Midnight Society. I wanted to come here and say goodbye and tell one final story. And I think we could have had a bit of emotional heft.
Could have, yeah.
The problem is I don't think they actually planned, like it wasn't planned. It wasn't like a thing they knew was going to happen. But anyway, making the best of a bad situation, David has come up with a story. His story is about two kids who have to go to a new school, unsurprisingly, and they find out that the school was far stranger than they could have ever imagined. All right, you should already know where this one is going already. If you've seen, God, what was it called? The Goosebumps episode.
Perfect
the
School.
Perfect School. We're in a similar vein there. Different, but it is a similar thing. Right, submit for the approval of the Midnight Society. This is the Tale of the Hatching. We begin in style. A nice street, a cute dog. A manholder opens and the dog gets pulled into it, seemingly. And I was like, oh my God, it's a chud. Boom, we're doing chud shit. David's voiceover starts as a car pulls through the gates of a boarding school called the Blackbrook School, supposedly one of the best boarding schools around. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, who are going away on business for 6 months, have enrolled their two children, Augie and Jasmine, Jazz for short, in it. And it's a trope. It's the classic trope. We got to dump our kids somewhere because we got shit to do. Off you fuck.
We haven't had a criticism of parents, in one of these episodes for a while. So it's nice to bring that back, isn't it?
Because what baffles me, right? What baffles me is oh, is this their first time ever? Because going to boarding school and going to school are two very different things, like
Hmm.
crazily different. And I'm like, wait, if you just pulled them out of a normal school and then you go to boarding school, because that adjustment is insane. And that's cruel, to be fair.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But like you said, there are some questionable parental decisions in these episodes, and it kind of reminds me of the Perfect School as well a little bit. You know, how the parents just seemingly they just want to like get rid of their kids basically, and it just makes you
Yeah,
question like why they even had kids in the first place.
yeah, because all he does on Perfect School, right, if you don't know the episode talking about, is he plays pranks and gets sent off to like a freaking military that will change your
Yeah,
behavior at school. And it's like, whoa,
yeah.
that's a bit harsh, guys. Didn't even try therapy. Of course, neither child is happy about having to stay there, in particular Jazz. Inside, they're looking for the headmasters, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, but they hear a scream and then massively overreact, running around to find out what's happening. It's a school and someone's screaming, and you think, what? Someone's being murdered. And they burst into a dormitory and find a girl sitting up in bed, frightened of a nightmare. Okay.
Mm,
Two
yeah.
strangers in a girl's dormitory. That's a situation you don't want to find yourself in. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor now arrive and explain that the girl, Marie, is sick and introduce themselves. We learn here that Augie might be a bit of a nerd and Jazz is the rebel. Um, Basic character writing. We've seen these characters before in this show already. Quickly established that because the way Augie talks is he's the nerd and Jazz being like, oh, I don't want to be here, rolling her eyes. She's the rebel.
Another bit of a, and I've heard the name Orgy before, but that's just always like a weird name to me.
It does scream old man, right?
None of it's short for like the name August or something, maybe, or like
Augustus.
Augustus. I guess it's like a shortened name for it. Yeah.
If you call your kid Augustus in this day and age, or even in the 90s, man, bang out of order.
Hope your kid's taken off, yeah.
Marie insists that she's fine. Mrs. Taylor insists she goes to the infirmary. And then we get an odd buzzing alarm which goes off and Jazz queries it. Mr. Taylor claims, look, it's just the class change bell. And now we cut to the office where he starts to go through the school rules when the bell goes off again. He explains, look, this bell is used for everything in school. Class beginning and ending, meals, bedtime, and wake-up calls. Different frequencies for different events. And at the school, they prefer softer and more soothing tones, unlike the loud bells that most schools have.
Hmm.
Right, I'm
Okay.
fine with this, except for
Yeah.
one fucking thing. We never hear any, it's the same frequency. Every time it goes off, whatever it is, it's the same frequency from our perspective. I don't understand why they didn't change it so it was clearer.
Yeah, picked up on that for sure.
And immediately something like the fact that this like it's so clear something odd's going on because you know why would you have this?
There's quite a few like red flags immediately. I think that anyone with any, but just they just want to get rid of their kid. They don't care about that crap.
Talking of red flags, the biggest one comes next because bear in mind the parents are still there as Augie's watch goes off. The alarm on his watch goes off, which creates a beep, beep, beep noise naturally. And this beep causes Mr. Taylor such pain he holds his head and moans. But he plays it off as having been suffering from migraines recently. And the parents are like, all right, yeah. As Jazz and Augie look at each other confused. And I'm like, right, look, let's buy into the migraine thing. You don't seem healthy enough to run this school if that's the case.
That's true. That's quite serious. If like something so minor could cause such a reaction. Yeah.
Afterwards, the two kids talk about the school with Jazz not wanting to stay and Augie being more passive. Jazz wants to break out, effectively, but Augie persuades Jazz to stay and give it a chance. The parents say goodbye and the kids start to get on with it. It's dinner time and we see a big bowls of something like rice pudding being passed around. All the kids seem really happy to eat this. Jazz is not impressed. Another kid at a table named Kit tells them it's their nightly dessert called sponge, but with a U instead of the O.
I
And both
always
Jazz
love
and
that. I always love that name for the food. I don't know why. Just like there's something about it amuses me.
I don't understand why we go into such depth about it. Like, who cares what it is? But he make a kind of scene out of this, including with Jazz and Olga, like, we're not going to eat that.
This thing like that, I like the way he sells it, man. He sells it like he makes me believe that it's actually like delicious. I always like as a
Fantastic.
kid, as a kid, it almost made me want to try it, because of the way he sells it so good.
And listen, folks, you see the bowl clearly. It is just rice pudding. That's
Yeah,
basically what it is.
I didn't do anything weird with it, like color, make a weird color or nothing.
Time goes on with Jazz and Augie deciding to make the best of it. Still, the school seems strange, in particular when it comes to loud noises. An example of this is shown when a young boy named Willie is accosted by Mr. Taylor and told off for playing a handheld video game. And then that night in the dorm, Augie is warned by Kit to not let anyone see his Walkman because music is banned on school grounds. I don't get this, right? And this ties into the ending, right? If loud noises slash irritating sounds or sharp sounds are this much of an issue, such an issue, they are not being careful enough. How does he have a
Hmm,
fucking handheld video game? How has he even got a Walkman in there?
that's a great point. I mean, you'd think they would have been more like on that, with security.
Considering the seriousness of what happens at the end, that's what it is for me. It's not a minor thing. It's a this can kill us thing.
Yeah, that's true.
More time goes by and the kids are kind of enjoying school now, but Jazz is still refusing to eat sponge and gives Augie a withering look when he considers trying it. So like they are both kind of acclimatized. I was quite pleased to sort of see, look, they just get on with it, that kind of thing.
Mm.
But we still kind of stick to the tropes where she's like, well, I'm not eating it. And Augie's like, well, I might try it. And she's all like, no, you won't. But one night things finally take a really strange turn. The bell goes off, and in the middle of the night, all the students get up, moving like zombies to the basement. Augie and Jazz are seemingly unaffected, but decide to follow to see what is going on. The basement is like a pool house with machines and equipment and with a green glowing aura. We see Kit activating a switch, causing the water pressure below to rise up, and all the kids climb down to the pool and start throwing some sort of powder into the pool, a pool that seems to hold eggs. Augie, seeing this, wants to contact the authorities, but Jazz tries speaking to some of the kids and gets no answer. Going down to the pool level to discover the eggs, and Augie figures that they've been hypnotized and are knowing exactly what to do. Right, I wanted to get all that out there because it's a big scene. It kind of just drops all of this on us. I loved it. I love aspects
Mm.
of it because I love that. Oh, I love these 80s monster movie stuff, eggs and what's in them and creatures and all of that. I'm a big fan of it. It gives me that vibe of how it looks visually. I think the location is cool as fuck. I think the design of the eggs and the kids who are all acting like zombies are doing it really, really well. I enjoy it thoroughly, provided I don't bother to think for a second. I have to detach my brain to such a level because I am like, wait a fucking second. I thought at this stage we might see more employees of the school. But no,
Mm.
apparently just those two adults, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, are controlling this entire school. But not only that, they apparently aren't keeping, because obviously we will know sponge is what's causing the kids to be controlled. So how are you keeping track of who's eating it? And how do you
Mm.
know that Jazz and Augie haven't eaten it? Like, this is basic shit. Like, why would you not throw a few perfect school style prefects in here who keep
Mm.
control of things and so on?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've completely nailed it, really. There, I mean, it does fall apart under scrutiny, but if you don't think about that, it's a really cool visual, and I
Yeah.
imagine it must have been quite an undertaking to film with all the different kids and their different roles and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's a really cool scene, regardless of some of the logical flaws.
Agreed. So I decided not to bother overthinking this one from this point on. And I'm actually glad that I do because it makes it more fun as we kind of ramp things up. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor arrived though, and Augie and Jazz decide to play along, sprinkling the powder onto some eggs to suggest that they are also under the spell. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor are watching and are happy to see that the two new kids have fallen in line, their glee revealing that it's sponge that places the students into their trance because they do that villain thing where they're like, oh, they've been eating a sponge, like they're talking out loud to each other. So, we get all the information.
Like you said, it's like their whole thing is dependent on at some point these kids do they all resist at first to eat the sponge? Is that how it goes? And then they inevitably just like because everyone else is doing it, they'll eventually try it and then they're hooked. But like you said, like what if it can't
Risky.
always work out that way? And that is very risky. And I guess that's what leads to their eventual downfall, isn't it? So
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. What's really, really dumb about it is that even if they just thought it was rice pudding and a dessert, they might not actually like rice pudding, so they wouldn't eat it for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, maybe also, like you said, that they disguised it and just called it rice pudding instead of calling it sponge. Maybe that would have made them just eat it immediately.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you want to give, yeah, that's a great point, Liam. If you want to give someone something mysterious in their food, don't give it a really odd name that people wouldn't associate with it. I'm gonna feed you a burger. I'm not gonna call it brick. Have a
Yeah,
brick. Because you're gonna be like, why is
exactly.
it calling it a
Mm.
brick?
Yeah, but if you want to poison someone, you don't tell them there's poison in the food.
Yes, there is that as well. Augie and Jazz follow the Taylors to the office and overhear them talking. And because they just decide to keep talking out loud, we learn that their work is almost finished, the eggs will hatch, and their master will be pleased, having been patient for the past 100 fucking years. They now reveal that there's some sort of reptile creatures as they talk about shedding their uncomfortable human skin. And Mr. Taylor lifts up his sleeve to reveal green reptile scales on his arm while scratching his itchy wrist. If all of this wasn't enough, they then pour themselves green slime drinks and make a toast to their troubled past and glorious future. It's all gone very goosebumps.
Did very green and oozy.
Jazz and Augie go back to their dorms and try to rationalize things. Jazz insists that they have to get help, but Augie is scared and tries to hide in bed. And Jazz is like, I'm not having none of this, and demands he help her. Augie does get dressed and gathers all his stuff, including his Walkman. But because we need an ending, he has an idea. And he takes the wall speaker off the wall with him. Glad it just comes off that easily. Really good
Yeah,
that.
just like sitting there.
Yep. Arriving at the door of the girls' dormitory, he tries to get Jazz's attention, but the door swings open to reveal Jazz being held by Mrs. Taylor. She tells them that they have been naughty and that they should have eaten their sponge like the rest of the kids. Augie calls her a monster and she laughs, claiming that he's not seeing anything yet. This distraction, though, gives Jazz the chance to escape, biting her hand. Yeah, I like the fact we do a close up of the hand as well afterwards.
Hmm. Yeah.
The kids try to head out, but run into Mr. Taylor. Forced to change direction, they head further down, but head into the opposite direction to the egg baths. They instead find themselves trapped in a tunnel barred in by the Taylors, and the Taylors reveal that they're now the last of their race that was doomed to extinction. Using the kids to nurture the eggs, they can hatch them and take over. As for the kids, when the eggs hatch, they serve another purpose. After all, they are a race of meat eaters. So we get the big plan here, and it's nice and dark and twisted and evil and sinister. Overacting as fuck as well.
Just it also made me think that like, is this the first time they've done this then? Because like they said it was like 100 years or something. So is it have they never hatched the eggs before? Because like how does that work exactly?
I decided the only way that could work was that the master, the mother, only birthed eggs once every 100 years.
Oh well, yeah, there you go. I'll accept it.
There we go. It's what I was supposed to do. It's not like they're telling me. Um, But we do get a cool monster as Augie and Jazz are actually in a mother's den. At the end of the tunnel, we see green smoke and the sound of something monstrous coming. It's the master. The monster starts to approach and Jazz is terrified. But it's Augie who comes up with an idea, plugging his Walkman into the speaker and cranking up the volume. The Taylors realize too late and try to stop them, but the music causes the monster to explode, covering the kids in slime. I thought this was great. From the green
Yeah.
smoke at the end of the tunnel to the monster itself, which I think was a great effect, to the idea of how to defeat it, to the kids getting splattered with slime. We've praised kids getting splattered with shit in the past. Not going to moan about it happening here.
Yep, no complaints here.
Mr. and Mrs. Taylor have died too. Nothing remaining of them but their clothes and slime. And back upstairs, they find all the eggs destroyed, and the kids wander around lost and apparently not perturbed much by what's around them. This reminds me of the episode with the kids in the pool with the magic demon guy from Egypt, and how everyone afterwards is just like, all right, carry on. This is very
Yeah.
similar.
Hmm.
However, because this is an 80s monster movie, you know how we like to end things, right? We don't just end them. We pan over to reveal one egg remains unbroken and it's about to start hatching. The end? Or
What's
is it? Dun, dun, dun. I'm a big fan of it. It's a trope,
Yeah,
but it's a classic trope.
yeah, definitely.
This one's all right. I think this is all right. I think it's fun. Doesn't do anything original, anything particularly clever, and is hampered as always by the runtime, but I think it's fun.
Yeah, I think like even though I did really enjoy this episode and it has a lot going for it, I just found myself with like not that much to say about it, but not necessarily in like a bad way. I think sometimes when something is just like solid with the like little to complain about, and like there is praiseworthy things in it, like we've touched upon, but there's not really much to criticize about it either way, kind of thing. It's just like a little bit middling, you know. I think the concept is obviously a good one and it flows nicely. There's good intrigue throughout. The acting performances are enjoyable. Some fantastic practical effects. It's all pretty straightforward for the most part. So even though nothing about the episode is like bad or anything, it's just for some reason a bit forgettable for me. I don't think this is one that's going to really stick in the memory.
I think that's fair. I think I'd end up getting this confused long term with a
Hmm.
Goosebumps episode as well. I think it could be very easily me go, no, that was Goosebumps, wasn't it? Like if we were to reference it in the future, that kind of thing.
I think that's what it is. It's just it makes me think of the Goosebumps counterpart, and that is better because it has the two
Yes.
parts. It's like more fleshed out. It's not, yeah. Even though I suppose this one probably has better practical effects, I think they've both got good aspects. But yeah, I'll just probably think more when I'm thinking of like two like a kid being dropped off in like a boarding school type scenario and like sort of science fictiony stuff goings on. I'll automatically always think of the perfect school. So yeah.
There it is, the tail of the hatch in the 12th episode, penultimate episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark Season 2. You got any thoughts in what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.